live. Okay. Oh, we got Barbara on. Okay. People are coming in. Oh my gosh. Amy, your magic is just like taking off. Okay, so we got Amy Suto, the one and only, the one and only here on Substack Live, and I'm just like really excited to talk to you, as always. And um, we've been connected for a little while, but it's just always great to chat and to always just learn from you because you are such a light and you've tried so many things, you've experienced so many things. And we are now talking about your book, Right for Money and Power, which is in the top 10 books, business books on Amazon right now. Literally, my mind is blown. And it's just, oh my gosh. So, let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about feelings. Like, what's going through your mind right now, Amy? Like, how are you feeling about how well your book is doing? Yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, no, Renee, it's been so great having you as my book marketer. Like, it's been awesome because like there's so much to do in a book launch. So like mostly I've just been feeling exhausted, but seeing us hit the top 10
Mhm.
of like all business books on Amazon for Right for Money and Power is like so cool. So thank you for all your help on
Mhm.
everything. Like, for anybody watching, I cannot recommend Renee's services enough. She is amazing. She's fantastic. But yeah, I feel like it's like kind of a mix of total exhaustion from doing the 12-hour book launch,
Yeah.
from like the day, like 2 days after the 12-hour book launch, waking up at 4 a.m. and being like, okay, I need to get my Amazon ad set up. And then
Oh
even
my God.
like yesterday, like being like, oh, I need to remember to email beta readers and ARC readers and be like, hey, that Amazon review, would it be cool if it happened? So it's
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
do feel like there's like this kind of in between of like,
Mhm.
feeling like this is very cool. We've sold thousands of copies already. Like it's really neat to see like everybody reading the book and emailing me about it. And I just feel so grateful and excited for people finding the book. So that's
Mhm.
like one side. And then the other part of me is just like, wow, I'm tired.
Yeah.
We're like 3 months or 3 weeks past launch week. So I do feel like that there's just so much more in book launches than people realize. And
Mhm.
this is like a piece that is always surprising to me. Whenever I
Mhm.
do anything that requires, where you think it's going to be easy, it's like 3 times harder than you think it's going to be. And I think that that's like a piece that
Mhm.
you can never fully understand the effort that it takes to do
Mhm.
something, pull it off well.
Wow, wow. But Amy, like I mean, it's not like, so I just want to like compliment you as well because maybe there's like this culture. I don't know if it's a culture, but like in the publishing world, there's a lot of like, snake oil salesmen who are like, you know, you pay this price and then you don't have to do anything. And the book takes off, you'll sell millions of copies. But at the same time, you are a testament to there is no magic pill. Like you do still have to put in the work and I mean, yeah, I can feel like there is a lot going on. And at the same time, like you are like you dedicated yourself to this and the results are truly paying off. And it's just really, really cool to see. So congratulations. Just amazing job.
Thank you. No, it's been neat. And I think that I think that there's like two kind of parts of like book launches and it's been really neat to learn from you, Renee. And I feel like there's like
Mm.
I do think that there's still like the things that like a lot of the things that you teach are like a lot of the working smarter, not necessarily harder. Like it's still
Mhm.
an effort, but I do think that there's like a lot of things that I've seen people do with book launches where I'm like, and then at the end of like this like huge story about how much work they did, they're like, and then that didn't really like do anything with sales. But then I did Amazon ads and that jumped sales. And so I do think that there's
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
certain things with book launches that are more cosmetic that don't move the needle with book sales. And then certain things
Right.
like what you teach with like Amazon ads, paid promotion in newsletters,
Yeah.
keyword research, SEO, like some of the stuff that some people might think is boring and not very flashy, that
Mm.
actually does move the needle when it comes to selling books and bringing people in and sharing your written work with them.
Wow. That's a really interesting perspective. So yeah, and for those watching, like I learned how to do all this through a coaching program I took. The name of it was called publishing.com. And the whole point was to sell books so that the business model was making money off of the book sale. So it was like everything you're doing is like optimized for book sales and less about vanity metrics. And when I started realizing that, oh wait, like other people are also wanting book sales as well, then I'm like, oh wait, like you guys can also take this and apply this to, I mean, what you really want to do, which is grow your business and your brand and Substack and everything. And so I was like, okay, great. It's all working out. So that's good. Okay, good. So let's take it back, Amy. So this is for, I mean, for you, for the people watching who may not even know about your book and like are still maybe on the fence about purchasing it. Tell us about why you wrote this book in the first place. I think it's a really good story, and take us back to also like Six Figure Freelance Writer, which was another nonfiction book you wrote in the marketing efforts and endeavors that you did with that.
Yeah, definitely. So I wrote Six Figure Freelance Writer a few years ago. And I like wrote it because I was like, I just have so many things that I'm telling people over and over again on TikTok. And I have a pretty large TikTok following at the time. I think I had 40,000 subscribers on TikTok. And I was giving advice about freelancing. And at the time I was a six figure freelance writer. So I'm like, great, I can teach what I've learned up to this point. And so that book it did well over a period of time in terms of like this was a book
Okay.
that landed memoir ghostwriting clients for me. It was something
Mhm.
that
You did.
like landed like big projects. And people loved the book itself, but it was something that I came to you and I'm like, this book did not do the numbers that I thought that it would do because six figure freelance writer, I had an audience of over 40,000 people on TikTok. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
book will definitely sell to some of them, maybe 1,000 of them. And it did not.
Mhm.
And I think that that was like my first wake up call that book
Right.
sales were not
My
just
internet did
show
cut
up
out.
to your audience on TikTok and things happen. And this book sold slowly over the course of years, but it never had a big launch. And I notoriously my launch for this was like 30 days. I was like, I'm just here it is. And I think that like it allowed me to get into self-publishing and start to put my stuff out there. And I think that that was really
Yeah.
cool. But then when I was
Yeah.
thinking earlier this in 2025, I had gone on a writer's retreat in Tuscany. And I was like, I have
Yeah.
more to say about freelancing, especially now becoming a seven-figure freelance writer. I could just update this book, but then I kind of
Right.
had this like breakthrough on this writer's retreat. And I'm like, I'm writing all these like chapters on the plane home. And I'm like, this is not going to be a simple, chapter edition. And so that's where Write for Money and Power came from, where I wanted to
Mhm.
dive more into the seven, like not only what it means to be a seven figure writer, but the starving artist myth and the mindset stuff that I think really helps writers escape from the gatekeepers and people that want to keep us trapped. And so that was kind of the journey. And for this, I knew I wanted to do a big launch. And I'm like, I need to spend more than like 3 weeks marketing my book this time. And you and I had connected in Wi-Fi Tribe. And so we were
Mhm.
both digital nomads. And I knew
Mhm.
that from Six Figure Freelance Writer, I'm like, it doesn't matter if I have a big audience and if they won't necessarily buy the book. What I want to do is like get this book out there to actually have people see it and to have it help people because I've heard so many good like stories from people who've used Six Figure Freelance Writer to grow their business and do things.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to have a bigger impact. And so that's why I was like, Renee, come help
Mhm.
me. And we spent the last 6 months working on this book launch, and it has gone so well, better than I could have ever imagined. And like the
Oh
fact
my
that
God.
we're top 10 on Amazon
Yeah.
for all business books is crazy. Like seeing like the book up there with James Clear and on all these authors that I love, I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And hearing reader
Working.
feedback has been amazing. So thank you, Renee. Like the strategy that you've given to me has helped immensely and just helps get the book out to more people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be totally honest. Like, even I'm like, holy shit, this works. It does work. Cause like, you are my very first like one-on-one client. And going into it, I was like, I've done things for other people in the past. I've done it for other clients as well. Well, not my first one-on-one client, but my first like my first like VIP. Like we're gonna go all in, all in. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna share everything I know. And I remember as well, like you were telling me things that I was learning as well. And we'll talk about that too, because there's like all sorts of strategies too that I'm learning. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's like it works, and it is awesome to see that working. So, oh my gosh, like, phew, there's like a sigh of relief, like, yay. Um, yeah. So okay, so actually, let's go back a little bit because This is a common thing I hear a lot about with business authors, entrepreneurs, people want to be authors in general. It's like you have this like, yeah, even if you think you kind of know what you're doing, you have the dream of like, yeah, you're like a famous author and like you're selling millions of copies, and I get it. Like, totally understand. If you want it, you get to have it. Um, and like even if you went in with like a 3 week launch and like you weren't like expecting like the like top 10 business author yet, but, like, for a lot of people, they kinda get hung up because maybe, like, their first book didn't do as well as they thought it would. And so they're like, "Should I try again? Like, what's even the point? What's the big deal? Like, nothing's gonna work." And yeah, I've been there too. But yeah, what were your emotions going into, like, when your book wasn't doing as well as you were thinking it would? And then, like, how did you bounce back from that?
Yeah, I think that when it came to Six Figure Freelance Writer, like this was something that I had written truly just for the love of it. And I had written it because I
Mhm.
was just like, this is something that I'm not expecting to sell millions of copies. Like, I just want to share with people what has worked for me and what I know can work for them. And
Mhm.
that has saved me from being a minimum wage assistant in Hollywood who was feeling really lost and lonely and feeling like I was going to be yanked around by gatekeepers forever. And so Six Figure Freelancer was kind of my first book to figure that out. And I think that when I think that so many of us who want to share our knowledge in books are just like, we just want to, share this with people. But I do think that like a proper book launch and what we did for Write for Money and Power has helped so much because I'm able to help more people at scale rather
Yeah.
than just like the small community that's in my corner of the internet. And I think that like the reason why I wanted to write another book was again, not to sell millions of copies, but to have something that could create open doors for doing a podcast tour, have like
Yeah.
be able to create like I think the 12-hour book launch was a great example of like what in what other universe would I like have the energy or the reason to bring in 12 amazing guests and like have us all
Yeah.
talk on Substack Live about books and writing and power and gatekeepers. And so
Yeah.
I think that a book launch also is an excuse to do things that you normally wouldn't do and also to go all out on different things. And I've just met so many amazing people in the podcast circuit and just meeting other writers and other people in the community. And so I think that like the book launch for me was not necessarily just about selling books or just about using the book as a funnel to Substack, which both of those things did happen. But I think it's
Mhm.
more of like trying to continue to like get information into people's hands because the books that have changed my life are, Rich Dad Poor Dad and Alex Farnosi's books and Bird by Bird and like the Untethered Soul. And those books have completely changed my life when I found them. And so I'm just wanting to maybe earn a spot in people's bookshelves of this is the book that changed my life.
That is so cool. Yeah, and, like, cause yeah, like, a lot of writers, us writers, we love to read, and we, like, got started by reading and falling in love with books, and then starting to imagine, like, what if I could do this? And, like, what if my book started impacting other kids and other adults and, helping them too? Yeah, so and that's the thing, you're right, Amy, it's like, yeah, like, we want to help people, and I guess there sometimes can be this notion that, like, if I'm marketing or I'm selling my book or really investing in a really strong book launch, feels really selfish, it's self-centered, and it's all about me. Whereas you're saying that I had to invest in this book launch in order to help more people. There was no other option. And if I continue to do what I had done, only my small corner would feel the impact. But if I wanted to impact more people, and be on these other podcasts and continue talking about this and getting this information in more people's hands, I had to create these ripple effects so that I could get in the right doors and be in the right circles to continue spreading this message. So I love how yeah, you were just like, we're doing it. We're going big this time, and it definitely worked. So, um, okay, so let's start breaking down then your mindset going into the launch? Like because yeah, like I originally remember you were saying, I want to relaunch Six Figure Freelance Writer. And then you were like, no, like I'm going to redo all of this, which is awesome. But like at that time, like what were because we started talking together. You also hired Haley, your PR agent, which is awesome. Who did you assemble as your dream team? 'Cause maybe a lot authors had that question. And so like who and why did you put that together?
Yeah, so for this book launch, like I knew, first of all, I'm like, gotta get Renee on board, because I knew I really wanted your help with things like Amazon ads, like the Amazon side of it, the fact that it is such an algorithm game in a lot of
Mhm.
ways,
Yeah.
and then also kind of having your help like conceptualizing the podcast tour and things like that.
Mhm.
So I knew that like your strategy and the things that you knew, I'm like, I need to have Renee help me, and also like a lot of authors think that like that we can learn the stuff on our own. And in some cases, sure, but I think that having your help helped me skip ahead of all of the things that would have taken me like 3 more book
Oh,
launches to learn. And so that was
okay, that's a
one
really
thing I'm
good
like,
point.
I need to like speed up my learning if I'm going to, have this figured out this book, maybe not like instead of 3 books from now. And then I hired Haley Raymond as my publicist because I
Mhm.
again had done podcast tours in the past,
Mhm.
DIY, or Kyle had been helping me with the small podcast tour I did for Six Figure Freelance Writer.
Mhm.
Um, and the thing with DIY like stuff is like, especially because we have so much going on, I'm just like, I don't have time to coordinate with like 20 different podcasts and things to have the episodes come out at the right time and to know what to say on the podcast. And Haley was great because I did media training with her where she was like,
Mhm.
here's how like the sound bites that like are things that you should think about where you should be yourself, but don't forget to mention your Substack. And I'm like, yes, I should
Right.
remember to mention my Substack on these interviews instead of just like talking to hosts
Mhm.
about how I've been to every Disneyland in the world as a fun fact, which I did as well. But I think that like as like a good publicist will tell you like
Yeah,
don't forget you need to plug the things that you're here to talk about. And I think a lot of us writers and creatives can forget that. And so
that's
Haley
a
has
good
done a
point.
great job of like getting us on podcasts and I say us team effort getting me on podcasts, but getting the team in front of people. And so
For
I
sure.
think that that
Yeah.
was really helpful. And we had very little success with traditional media, which makes a ton of sense because the
Huh.
book itself is about, down with the gatekeepers. So we had like a lot of media, like we had the New York Times and the New York Post and the San Francisco Standard request copies. And
Yeah.
then crickets. And so that was
Oh,
one thing
really?
that I'm like,
Okay.
oh yeah, they're requesting things, but they're like reading it, but they're not wanting to talk about it. Which I think is like I
Yeah.
understand that people don't want to talk about the downfall of gatekeepers and the rise of the creator economy if it's not in their best interest.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
something that like I kind
That's
of knew
really
going in.
interesting. Mhm.
But the podcast stuff I think we did the best, and then also working and collaborating with other Substackers because the book is about
Mhm.
like Write for Money and Power is about using paid newsletters like Substack and self-published books to get your word your mission out there.
Totally, totally. Okay, so you hired book marketer, me, publicist, Haley, and you were like, "I want to do really well on Amazon," and you knew you wanted to self-publish. Um, and can we quickly just go around, this conversation a little bit because you are so successful. You make bank. You are like publishers want you as their golden child. And a lot of people would kill to have a publisher come to them and say, "Here's a six-figure book deal," or, whatever it is, and you made the decision or you already decided I'm going to self-publish this. So why? Yeah,
Yeah,
explain that.
well, this is like the whole topic of Right for Money and Power is that
Yep.
the gatekeepers never have your best interest in mind, and I think that this was very brutally reinforced within me because I worked in a talent agency in Hollywood, so I came up working on the desks of literary agents and in the belly of the biggest entertainment gatekeepers on the planet, and so when I started to realize like what it's actually like on the other side, and I thought at first maybe publishing is different, and it's not. And I think that it's been helpful that as my career as a memoir ghostwriter, I've seen some of my
Yeah.
clients who are Olympians and NBA athletes. I've seen them go through self-publishing, and I've seen even people with very high profiles just get yanked around by editors. And a
Oh, wow.
six-figure book
Okay.
deal across is not like I think the thing that people forget is that an advance is not paid in advance. It's often paid in like 2, 3, 4 installments, like a little bit before you get the deal, and then a little bit once you turn in a draft, and then a little bit 2 years after your book is published. So the money is
Um,
stretched out, and then your agent takes a cut, and if you're in Hollywood, you have managers who take cuts, and it kind of there's so much people who are just like ready to prey on writers. And so I chose self publishing because I wanted to pick my cover, I wanted to pick the title, I knew I was going to be writing about gatekeepers, and I've always self published because I think that is just a better economic model for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking the comments. We have Sandy who says self-publishing lets the author retain creative control too. And yeah, completely. It's like, yeah, like that's the thing I think. It's like this dream. I don't know if it's like perpetuated by like media or movies and TV where like and I'm playing this video game called Split Fiction. And even in the video game, it's like the characters in the video game are going to this publisher and it's like, wow, like the publisher is our dream come true. He's our savior. Uh-oh. We're Internet's unstable. Is it me or is it oh gosh. Well, hang tight, folks. Anyway, it's yeah, sorry. And in writing, you need to reinvite her. Oh, here we go. Uh, iPhone overheated in the sun. Be right back on. Okay. Um, oops. Oh, okay. Here we go. Am I still on here? Hopefully. Okay. Um, add me. Okay, iPhone unheated. Oh, here we go.
Well, okay, hi. My iPhone totally overheated in the sun, so
Okay.
it completely died on me. But I can join on
No,
my desktop. So exciting!
okay, yeah. I forget that we have desktop now. So we'll have to check that out next time. Um,
Awesome.
okay. And that's so weird because it says waiting for Amy Suto. Okay, cool. Okay. Looks like we're good. I think. Hopefully. Okay, current viewers, 0. Do we need to, like, do this again? Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
god.
can hop back off on, and my phone is working again. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Here,
no,
I
sorry.
let me end because it says that I'm live on my phone right now. Okay, cool. I ended on my phone. I can join back again on my phone. Thank you for your patience as
Oh, Sandy's I see okay, wait, Sandy says I see 19 viewers.
cool.
I think we're good.
Okay,
I
cool.
should.
Awesome. This is like I've
I
had
see.
my phone overheat so many times because like the sun and not to brag, but the weather in San Francisco has been beautiful lately.
Oh, good.
Because I know everyone else is dealing with a snowstorm. But it's been lovely. But yeah,
No.
technical difficulties.
Okay, sorry, okay, we're back. Okay, where were we? Oh, we were talking about gatekeepers, yes. Okay, so, yeah, and creative control, and, like, yes and yes, like, yeah. Okay, sorry, yeah, okay, so let's go back. So, alright, so walking into the launch of, Write for Money and Power, you hired a book marketer, you hired a publicist, and, so let's talk about, like, the roles that people play, in a book launch. So, um, I think a lot of people when they're thinking, "Oh, book launch and I'll get hired by or a traditional publisher publishes me, I don't have to do any marketing." But, that's definitely not true. But let's talk about even if someone was interested in self-publishing, like, what would they need to do as an author to get their book off the ground?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing is what you kind of brought up when we started working together, which is this idea of positioning and trying to think about like what problem does my book actually solve for people? And this is for some people who are in the 6-week Substack sprint that I've been teaching recently. We talk a lot about like even on Substack, if you have a Substack that you're sharing with the world, who are you like helping? Like who is your target audience or your ideal reader? What is the pain point that they have and what is the transformation? And this is true even with fiction. It's thinking about like, oh, I want to tell this story because I'm trying to reach this type of person or have this person feel seen. And so I think as writers, we shy away from trying to think in that marketing brain. And that's why I talk a lot about and write for Money and Power about having a CEO hat and an artist hat because we are artists at the end of the day, but we still have to have our art, operate in a marketplace if we're wanting to do this as a career. And so
Mhm.
it can feel really conflicting to have them both on at once. And so swapping between the
Okay.
CEO hat and then the artist
Mm.
hat, I think helps immensely.
Wow, that's great. I love that perspective. Yeah. So, okay, so you came in with wanting, yeah, so like positioning your book, so you got clarity on who your book was for, what problem it was solving, what transformation it was going to provide. And let's keep going. So you got clarity on that. Where did like Haley come in and where did someone like a book marketer or a marketing agency or a market like a book marketing service, where do they come in and fit into this?
Yeah, so I think everybody's gonna have like a different team. For me,
Mhm.
because like I'm already so comfortable as a freelancer with doing my own marketing, doing my own kind of launch stuff, and I also wanted to really hyper focus on less about the marketing. So I didn't want to do, I didn't want to do like a big in person launch party. I didn't want to do
Okay.
like a lot of the bells and whistles. I didn't want to have like huge like social media kind of work for it. And so instead, what I decided to do is
Mm.
like the things that are going to actually move the needle. And so that's why I wanted to focus on the podcast tour. I
Mm.
wanted to focus on Amazon ads and then paid ads and other newsletters, and
Okay.
having Haley kind of help with coordinating the podcast tour, and also thinking about like what is going to help people the most in terms of the content that I put out related to the book launch. And so I was like, oh, podcast makes sense because I can kind of talk about a lot of the things in the book and share it that
Yeah.
way. And so
Right.
I was trying to be, like, really laser focused, especially because I'm a
Mhm.
working freelancer. Like, I'm running
Yeah.
between, like, meetings and working with clients and helping them with their books. One of my clients, like, shared the same book launch week as me, and so, I
Okay.
was, like, her with her launch and then also working on things with me, and so it's like, I think that when it comes to book launches, it's also trying to think about how do we not just do everything because we've seen people on social media do it all. How do we think about a book launch really effective? Like, what's not just cosmetic? What is going to be the thing that actually moved the needle? And that's what I really wanted with book launches. Like, I didn't want to do just everything for the sake of everything. I just didn't have the time, and I wanted to be thoughtful with resources. And so, I think with self publishing, it can feel like, oh, I've got to do it all. I've got to hire a marketing agency. But for me, I wanted to keep the dream team small. So you, my publicist Haley, and then a virtual assistant to just kind of help with that some of
Yeah.
that back work. But other than that, I was like, that's it. We're not gonna do any other ads other than some ads on Amazon. We're gonna just kind of keep
Mhm.
things really clean. And I think that that worked.
Mm.
I do think that people also respond to giving things away and being supportive of the community. And that's why I decided to do the 12-hour book launch and do 12
Mhm.
hours straight of Substack lives. Cause I'm like, I'm just going to give back and try to like highlight some of the amazing people I've met during the podcast tour. And so it's like trying to be generous. So your book launch is not about you, it's about your readers. And I think that that's the shift that helped immensely.
Wow, love it. Totally, yes, and you could say that again, like, yes, it's really about them and about someone else, and marketing is a service, and selling your book as a service, appearing on podcasts as a service. So, okay, so you have like a lean dream team. So it sounds like if anyone's watching this an hour later, that if, yeah, like the lean dream team is a publicist. And I love how she's also lean. Like, she's like, I'm here, I'm scrappy, and I'm here to get you talking about the right things, saying the right things, getting you on the right podcast, appearing in the right places at the right time. I was the Amazon person for you. We were doing optimizing the Amazon strategy and the launch and also getting you straightened out with Amazon ads. And then you also had a VA to help you with some of the extra back work, as you were saying. So, okay, so that's helpful. And so, by the way, we'll also definitely link Haley's information as well, because Haley really did an amazing job for Amy's launch. Um, and did the extra mile. So, okay. So we got the dream team and then talk to us about like timelines. So, um yeah, when did you start conceiving of this big book launch and when did it actually happen and what were the things that you were doing in the between?
Yeah, so I because we had initially started working together and I'm like, I'm just gonna relaunch my last book. And then I think a few weeks into working together, I'm like, you know what? Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm writing an entirely new book. And so
Yes.
that was so that meant that when we started working together, I began writing a new book that I was then marketing. So I was like building the plane while I was flying it. And I know that you
Yeah.
and Haley got a lot of emails from me being like, just kidding, things are different now. By the way, like here's like what I'm thinking. And so a lot of pivots, but I think that that's like part of the process. And I think having
Yeah.
like being able to have marketing conversations with you guys helped with also shaping what I wanted for the book and what I wanted for the readers. And I knew that I wanted Right for Money and Power to be bolder than my last book. And I wanted it to be a little bit louder and to speak a little bit more critically of gatekeepers because I do think that gatekeepers, a lot of writers are afraid to speak out against the traditional publishing and Hollywood systems because they might want to work when these systems at one day. And I think that I have no desire to go back to either of those places. And so I think for
Mhm.
me, I wanted to say things that potentially other people were afraid to say or to
Mhm.
talk critically about these institutions and how I've heard so many horror stories that people just can't talk about because they have NDAs. And so I was like, how can I kind of
Yes,
use data and
me
use
too.
historical references about how starving artist myths have kind of held us back so that we can have a real conversation about what it means to be successful as a writer and have freedom.
Right, 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 right. Adela says, "How do you find a virtual assistant?"
Yeah, so we did lots of interviews and I think that the thing with virtual assistants is like there's a lot of like amazing people that are out there that can help you. It's about trying to find somebody who has like an intersection of like the knowledge that you need about like how to run an ARC campaign, which is something. So I
Mhm.
know you also asked about timelines. So it's like when we started
Oh, yeah.
working together in like May
Mhm.
of last year, like that was also when I was like, "Oh, I definitely need a virtual assistant." And then I found
Mhm.
Haley as my
Mhm.
publicist, and then having my virtual assistant help with the ARC campaign was really helpful as well,
Yep.
because then we were start able to like get on NetGalley like 4 months in advance as well. So it was
Mhm.
kind of just like a sprint all the way through because I was also finishing the book, having
Yeah.
amazing 90 like fantastic beta readers read the book and give feedback. And so I definitely recommend finishing your book more in its entirety before just starting the marketing process. But because I love deadlines and I know how to write fast, I was okay with like writing it very quickly during the
Mhm.
process and then pressure testing it with readers very quickly so that I could see what was working and what was not. And so I think, Renee, what I really love about kind of what you teach is this idea that a good book will almost market itself. And so I do want to say that like writing a good book is half of the battle and will make or break your marketing journey as well. And then from there, we had like 3 months of marketing leading up to launch.
Right, okay, awesome. Okay, so yeah, so you started in May and then you launched in January and you were you were writing a whole new book at the same time. Um and yes, I love that you have that much experience with writing so you were able to like kind of juggle clients and writing this new book and also the marketing and a trip to China as well. So you were doing all sorts of things. But okay, so and you were saying like maybe you recommend for most authors, they would finish the book before they go into a launch runway. So maybe like finish the book and then 5 to 6 months of preparing for the launch and then have the launch date maybe like 6 months in the future of when they start. So, okay, that's helpful. And yes, I like how you said about they should have some knowledge, maybe some prior experience with art campaigns, for example. So, what is an art campaign? Walk us through that. And then, like, what is NetGalley? I learned what NetGalley was from you, and it seems like it's very useful and definitely a tool in the tool belt.
Yeah, so I had really not done any art campaigns for my previous books. I did like a very small art campaign for my romantasy book, The Ash Trials, which ended up being like a huge driver of early reviews and a lot of early readers that helped to push the book. And so an ARC campaign is basically an ARC is an advanced reader copy, and what it does is it allows readers to get a sense of your book and to help either begin marketing the book or start to leave reviews right when the book comes out. And so the ARC campaign was really helpful because it also allowed podcasters and members of the press to like
Mhm,
start to get a sense of the book before it came out. And so we were able to send ARC copies to a lot of different podcasters who then had me on their shows. And so the ARC
mhm,
campaign is kind of like you're giving early access to different people who might want to. And yeah, one of my ARC readers is in the chat, WR Collins.
mhm.
Um, and so it's really, really helpful to have awesome ARC readers like yourself because for us writers, it's like we're kind of needing to have that help of that initial wave of leaving reviews on Amazon and Goodreads and spreading the word and writing reviews on Substack. And so having people experience the book early is really helpful for that, especially because,
Yeah.
for every like 100 ARC readers, very few, a small percentage leave reviews. And it's just because people are busy, people are downloading like a lot of books, and NetGalley is a site where people can sign up to become ARC readers from, and these are people who are members of the press, they're booksellers, librarians, things like
Mhm.
that. And so it's a great way to kind of get your book out there. And I've tried like 5 different ARC campaign websites and all of like the different Facebook groups. And what we saw that worked the best
Mhm.
was having a call for ARC readers in your own community on Substack, NetGalley,
Mhm.
and then some Facebook groups. And if you're in fiction, like the Facebook groups are actually really great for like fantasy books. And so yeah, so it's
Mhm.
like there's a lot of really great ways to find readers and to also kind of share like the generosity of being like, I'm trying to give away hundreds of copies before the book comes out just to have people kind of get a sense of what it is and see if they want to continue to be in our world.
Okay, yeah, love that. That's a good explanation. W.R. Collins says, "Even though I was an ARC reader, I bought the book too." Yeah, and
Oh,
that happens,
amazing.
yeah, that happens, more often than you think, because people will get, like, the information, they were, like, so blown away, like you were saying, by your generosity, and they were saying, "Yeah, I would love to support you." Yeah, okay, so you found advanced readers through your Substack community, NetGalley, some Facebook groups, and yeah, I like how like there was a kind of mix of finding people who would become part of like your. Some people call it book army, some call it launch army, some call it focus group, some call it advanced reader group, all kind of the same. And yes, like you were saying, that seems to be a great strategy to get your book that first like lift off, um, and that is like that initial momentum to then launches you to top 10 business books on Amazon. Um, so okay, awesome. So you were putting together your advanced reader team, street team, other people call it street team. Um, and then let's talk about like podcasting. So your publicist Haley was helping you get onto podcasts, and I remember I was helping you with finding the right podcast to get onto. So for someone who's never doesn't know a thing about podcasts, maybe they've listened to podcasts before, um, walk us through what it's like to even like pitch to a podcast, or like what does that even mean, and like how do you get on one, and then what do you say once you're on it? Like walk us through that.
Yeah, and I think that's like a good example of like what the podcast tour is like is kind of like thinking about like anytime like a famous actor's movie comes out and suddenly they're on every single talk show. And so
Yeah.
it's a similar thing with writers where it's like the moment that there's something that you are going to share with the world, like a book, then you take that book and then go and talk about it on a bunch of different podcasts. And so for me,
Right.
in the past, I've gotten on podcasts just by emailing them and being like, "Hello, like, I'm Amy. I would love to talk about my upcoming book on your show.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you like to have me as a guest? And here's some things about me." And just had a pretty short and simple email, and that worked a lot. However, the reason why I wanted to work with you and Haley on this podcast tour is because I saw that like what part of your advice, Renee, was to like have everything all come out at once. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I know that not every podcast did come out at once, but most of them did come out on launch week or the week before, and that helped a lot. And so building that amount of like organizing and trying to have everything come out at once and all of this stuff. It
Yeah.
was very complicated. And so having you and Haley not only come up with the podcast list, do all the reach outs, handle all of the the invites and like the calendar invites and scheduling, and then also Haley would send me a brief the night before for every podcast about like here are the top episodes of the podcast you should listen to. Here's some information about the
Okay.
hosts. Like
That's
so
amazing.
helpful, especially because I was like running from podcast to all of a sudden going to teach a class about Substack and then going on a call with a book client and then doing a developmental edit. And so because things were just so crazy last
Yeah.
year, like I was just like, I need help doing this. I will not be able to get like the critical mass of podcasts on my own. And then also what was really cool is that a lot of the podcast hosts became really, really kind champions of the book. Like Preston Lee
Mhm.
of Freeness to Founder had me on not only 4 episodes where we answered listener questions across 4 episodes because that's the format of his podcast, but then he brought me back for another 4 episodes or 3 episodes the week of my launch to really help push the book, and then left a very
So
kind Amazon review. So sometimes the podcast hosts that you are interviewing with, like that you're talking to, like they're as much in your corner, and they want to support you. And I think that that's like the magic of like a good podcast tour is that meeting people who are truly just like there to help you spread the word about your book.
wow, I love that perspective too. Yeah, like yeah, it's not like I mean, yeah, there's a marketing benefit to it as well, but you were saying like the podcast tour kind of sets you up to make relationships with people who will naturally go on to help promote your mission because they believe it too and it's also their mission too. So it just gives yeah, it's just like this beautiful synergy of everything kind of landing at once. So how many podcasts did you record before your launch? And I are you planning on or doing podcasts after? Tell us more about the cadence of the podcasting across the launch.
Yeah, and I just want to say hi to Sandy, who says that I discovered your book on Olivia's Substack and loving it so far, especially the part where you talk about setting boundaries and establishing rates. Lots of inspiration. Thank you, Sandy. I really appreciate it.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, I think when it comes to podcasting, I
Mhm.
think that for me, I've definitely burned out a little bit on doing a lot of podcasts so quickly in such a short period of time, and
Good
so
good point.
most of my Substack notes lately have been I'm touching grass and drinking some carrot juice and like I'm
Yeah.
making granola from scratch. I'm just like existing and even just like getting out of the house tonight for like an event is like, oh, that's an effort.
People
And so,
in real life,
um
flesh.
yeah, no, I need it's exciting and good, but I'm just like,
Mhm,
okay, all right. I still am recovering from like doing so much for the book. And I think that
mhm,
like a lot of people don't talk about like when you're leading up to the book launch, there's that anticipation of like, is this going to actually do anything? Are people going to actually like what I've written? And like this imposter syndrome that we all get. And then are we going to actually get like enough copies moved? Are people going to leave reviews on Amazon? Like there's so much of like uncertainty that comes up to book launches, even if you've done a bunch of them before. And so I think that just
mhm,
like the adrenaline of like being like, I need to make sure I'm doing everything to make sure that this book that I've spent so much time in, that people have said that they found really valuable, that I get it out there in a way that is actually going to make an impact. And I don't want to leave. I want to leave it all on the field and try to like make sure I've done enough. And I think that um, it can be just like draining, but I'm open to doing podcasts once I've fully recovered. But mostly I just
You
have like
say so.
Substack lives. I've mostly done like I mostly have like Substack lives set up with people that I'm interviewing for my Substacks. And so I'm still an
Mhm.
introvert. I'm still somebody who like likes, you know, asking other people questions, whether it's as a ghostwriter or an interviewer. And so I don't always, it's a little unnatural to be in the spotlight so much for me.
Yeah, and, you hit on a really good point, like, you are an introvert, and, yet you also, you still kind of found the energy or a part of yourself that still showed up, on interviews to speak about you and about your mission, so was there, like, a tension inside of you? Like, "But I'm an introvert, and but at the same time, I need to do this," or, like, yeah, like, what about there's probably a lot of people who out there who are like, they want the success that you want, but maybe they feel, um, held back by their introversion? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I think it's like being connected to like the why behind why you're publishing a book and putting it out there. Because if you're just like, it'll feel like a chore if you don't have a strong mission. And for me, like every time, like the reason why I wrote Write for Money and Power is because I just remember the beginning, like few years of my writing career were just chaos. I was like so upset and like sad and depressed because I felt like that I was withering away in like trenches and gatekeepers were flat out lying to me. People were promising me things for free in exchange for me doing free work that led to nowhere. Like
Yeah.
I was just being exploited at every turn and I was working these minimum wage
Yeah.
jobs. And even as I started working my way up the ladder and got to, be a TV writer and write episodes of TV, I was just like, there's still things that are, like, not really vibing with me about how this industry operates, and I just feel so lost. And when I started to really discover ghostwriting and discover how I could write for myself beyond, like, having to rely on these gatekeepers who were just, like, routinely it was like an abusive relationship. Like, I would go back to meet with an executive or, the people in the world who were promising me things, and then all of a sudden the next day, like, that would be different, and I'd be like, I'm doing all this for free or low pay and or maybe I am on a show and I think it's going to turn into this but it's not like the amount of gaslighting in a lot of these spaces is really high because there's so many people who want these creative jobs. And so these gatekeepers have the ability to really just like ask for so much for free. And I just remember being in writers groups and talking to fellow writers who were just being put through it and just completely their lives were being shattered. And I was just like, I need to figure out how to not let this be me. And so I was kind of trying to write my way out of situations that were not great. And in doing so, I ended up being able to travel the world for 5 years, finding financial freedom, being able to also help other people do the same, writing a Substack and building a really lovely community. And so I, like, suddenly, like, fell through the other side of the looking glass. I'm like, "Oh my god, I figured it out." And so I just wanted to, like, be able to share that with writers who are really struggling, and so that was the thing that powered me through interviews where I'm like, "I'm a little shy, but I wanna talk about this because I know the younger version of myself, like, desperately needed to hear this." And so I imagine that there's people out there who also are in a similar situation and need to hear this too.
Wow. Really inspiring. And yeah, and I think that is kind of the ticket to play is that you need to be kind of passionate, angry about something. You need to be on a mission for something to kind of to have the energy to when you feel tired or you feel like you're a little shy or you feel like a little imposter syndrome. And I mean, yeah, like n- there was a point where you had never written a book before, Amy, or you'd never written anything, and or you'd never been on a podcast before, but you were inspired by what you believed in and what you believed that your audience and other writers needed enough that it seemed like to light a torch, like it was your torch. And um yeah, that's really cool to see, and you can still succeed even if you're because you're an introvert. I mean, I'm not saying even because, like, it's because you care so deeply about what you believe in, you have this empathy, you love connecting, you want to be authentic, you love that connection with your audience and your readers, and that plus your passion for what you believed in kind of created this awesome storm, clearly. So all right. So amazing. And I love that. I just love speaking with you because you are so inspiring. And now, so you had podcasts land during your launch week. You had your ARC readers, you had and then let's talk about like Amazon ads. Um so let's fast forward to launch week. You had your ARC readers. They and okay, actually I'm skipping a huge step, which is incentivizing your ARC readers to purchase a pre-order of your book. Um, and okay, so let's just we could talk more about this. So let's just quickly talk about that. Because that when all those pre-orders landed on your launch day, your book just like it was like an atomic bomb. It just like boom, it all happened at once. So yeah, how did you incentivize your readers to purchase a pre-order?
Yeah, and I think for most of us, like when us as like readers, when we think about pre-ordering a book, it's like why? Why would I just like wait for it to come out? And I think that like the whole
Yeah.
benefit of pre-orders for a reader is actually just supporting the author that you care about because pre-orders really help authors but they don't necessarily help readers in and of themselves because it's like, oh, I'm going to give money now to something I'm not going to see until later. And so it
Mhm.
really is like something that helps the author the most because it helps us with those algorithms. It helps us get on bestseller lists. It helps us trend on Amazon. And so you like I have never done pre-order incentives before, but Renee, like you helped me craft some really great ones. And so I gave away for anybody who purchased 10 print books, I gave away a founding membership to Make Writing Your Job, which is currently valued at $550 a year. So it was a really good deal for everybody who
Right.
got that. And then I also gave away everybody who pre-ordered a book a 99 cent, or even down to the people who just ordered one book for 99 cents, a seven-figure writer Notion template using everything that I learned from, my own time kind of organizing myself and having this dashboard and also exercises from the book I put into that Notion template. So if anybody pre-ordered one book, they got that. And then the 10 books, they got that or and then also the founding membership to Make Writing Your Job, which is our Substack. And so those
Mhm.
really helped a lot because a lot of
Good.
really wonderful people in our community stepped up and bought 10 books and are gifting
Mhm.
them to their friends, which is so lovely. And so it's something that is like they're able to pay it forward. And then they also get access to our most valuable membership at our Substack, Make Writing Your Job. They have access to the job board and early access to featured jobs and tools we're building for them. And so it was kind of a win-win-win. And then on my end as an
Yeah.
author, it didn't really cost me anything to provide these pre-order bonuses. And so it's like wasn't something I had to ship. And I think that a lot of authors, when we're trying to think about pre-order bonuses, people think merch and I love merch. I have to keep holding myself back from doing merch because it's not profitable and
Yeah,
not
right?
easy.
Like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
I know.
like, I do think there's ways, and it was so great having your help, kind of brainstorming what I could give away that wouldn't cost a lot because as
Mhm.
authors, when we're investing in a book launch and investing in ads and things like that, it like
Mhm.
the can rack up fast, and so it's like the pre-order benefits should be something that you could have created for like the Notion template. I paid someone like $200 to like design it all based on what I wanted in it and the exercises. And so it was really helpful to have like a low cost way to incentivize people to help the book. And that is what has helped propelled us to top 10 of business books on Amazon. And I'm so grateful for everybody who's pre ordered. It has helped immensely.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I love that, yes, the pre-order bonuses, yeah, I love how you said that they don't have to be anything crazy, and a lot of people have things already, or you can spend, like you were saying, $200 on someone on Fiverr to pick up a Notion dashboard and create something really quick, and but that would be really valuable to someone else, and that would incentivize someone to purchase multiple copies of your book to help you land on Amazon. Okay, so let's fast forward to launch week. So you've been doing all these things, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and finally it's launch week, and your pre-order bonuses people have been buying in the background, and Amazon's kind of tallying all of these in the background. And then on day 1 of your book being officially live to the general public, all of those pre-orders land, they get released, and then Amazon says, "Whoa, 400," was it 400 pre-orders?
Yeah, I think we have here, I have my dashboard. Yeah, we
Yeah.
hit like 450, 500 pre orders. Yeah.
Oh, great, okay. That's fantastic. Okay, so 500 pre-orders all in one day, and so Amazon's like, "What is this book? Give this thing attention." And then all your podcasts are landing, and then you started and then you woke up at 4 a.m. and you were like, "I need to start Amazon ads." Not required, but you started Amazon ads. So it sounds like the Amazon ads are really working really well for you. That's really good. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. So it's like the first
Okay.
week, it's actually hard. I feel like it's a lot harder to spend money on Amazon than I thought on Amazon ads. And so the
Yeah.
first week
Yeah.
we were very profitable for the first week because I was just like following all your tips because you gave me great advice. And then I was like, wait, like I need to get some more orders so we can kind of juice some more of like the bestseller
Exactly.
list. And so I was just like, and so I
Exactly.
just like poured gasoline on the fire and then just like started bidding like $2 keyword, which is not your advice, but it
So
actually worked
great. I'm
great.
glad that it
And
worked
it
out for you. Okay.
yeah, it actually worked great because I think thinking about
Okay, good.
Amazon as like a way to bring new people into the world who aren't familiar with you, and I think that what's different about like Right for Money and Power is like this book is like meant to be like also a stepping stone for people who are like new to our world and don't know that we
Right.
have a writing job board over at Make Writing Your Job, who don't know about the free classes that we teach to help writers, like who don't know about all this stuff. So it is also, one 99 cent order is also, a first kind of stepping stone into all the other offerings, both free and paid, that we have for people. So we're just wanting to get more people more familiar with our Substack. So using it as a funnel, it made sense to spend more money on ads for us. And that's why we did so
Mhm.
many paid newsletter placements as well this last week, is
Mhm.
because having
Yes.
people get to know what we're up to also allows us to let them know what else we have for them and what we're building for them as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I like how you said that. Mary Beth says, loving class stack. Yes.
Yay! Amazing.
Yeah. Great point. Yeah. Like you can't, yeah. It's like people, I once talked to an entrepreneur. She spends like $5,000 a month on Facebook ads to get leads. But at the same time, like if you can spend $2 and that's just, for a bid, doesn't mean that someone's actually going to purchase your book, but it's actually Amazon ads compared to Facebook and Meta ads, I would say is actually to sell a book is a higher quality lead for less money than a Facebook ad. That's my personal opinion, and I'm gonna stick with it because if they buy the book, they read it, and they've been pre-sold into your world, they don't have to follow your email sequence that they don't look at, like, after the first 2 emails. Like, they read the book, they're a high quality lead. They're sold on you and your brand, and it's just a matter of getting them into your email list. I think it's a higher quality lead. So, okay, so awesome. So I love that. I love that you were like, let's juice up the Amazon ads. That's great. Podcasts are landing. And then let's talk about paid email lists because you had a BookBub promotion this week. And let's talk about that. And I know we're like running out of time, but I think a lot of people will want to hear about that. And so that is really it just amplified already everything you have going on. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so BookBub and didn't do as much as I thought it would. It was actually the other
Mhm.
newsletters, Renee, that you recommended to me that did much bigger numbers. And so
Great.
we did like I feel like, and I've talked to like other people about this who are doing BookBub promotions. I'm like, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like if you're fiction,
Mhm.
maybe it'll be more effective, but definitely did generate a lot of sales. But I think that like some of the more niche newsletters ended up doing great. Some of the more niche like deal newsletters with websites from like that look like they're out of the early 2000s that ended up having some of the best like kind of readers that were most excited about the book. And then we
Yeah.
also ran NetGalley ads on Booktrovert, which is their book platform. And then we had another NetGalley ad go out. So we did
Great.
kind of like a bunch in the last week, and it's so hard to know which one did the best because we stacked them all
Yeah.
on top of each
Just
other.
tracking
But
them. Mhm.
some combination of those did awesome.
Yeah. Okay. And out of curiosity, so a BookBub promotions, they're not cheap. I mean, once you get it, it's like, wow, that's great. But it may not be for everyone, but how much did you let's talk numbers. Like, how much did you spend on paid email lists in total? And I think it seems to be worth it. How much have you spent already?
Yeah, so we spent about, I would say it's somewhere around $1,000,
Okay,
$1,500 on like all of them. So some of them were
that's great.
very affordable. We're like
That's great.
20 or $60 for our category because it changes depending on the category.
Yeah.
And so the book bub was closer to $500, and then we also did a
Oh, okay.
$500 Goodreads giveaway on launch week. And so
Great.
everything kind of like depends. And it's like some of the stuff you won't actually see some of the benefits of until, like
Yeah.
because like some of these things like we bought like week long or month long campaigns as well, and so I
Yeah.
can't say for sure which one did the best, but they definitely all helped, and your advice of stacking them all in 1 week helped the most.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that has been my experience as well and other people's experience, and I'm glad that that's working out for you too. Totally. It's like inertia, right? Like something that's has 0 momentum needs like the most energy to get to movement. And then once it's moving, it's good, but we need to kind of do all the things like you were saying. All the podcasts are landing, your Amazon ads are going, your pre-orders are landing, your paid email lists are going. It's like all it like you like I keep saying this, but I think it just makes sense. Like it's just like atomic bomb, just like boom, and then that's when the airplane can finally get enough energy to actually start flying and then hit 30,000 feet. And now oh my gosh, lady, you are freaking cruising all the way to your destination. And I love that you are now, yeah, like number 10 in business and money, which by the way, if anyone's watching this, that is like insanity. You are like the top 1,000 books in the world right now. Um, and absolute insanity. So if anyone's watching this, this is a master class. This is a master class on how to get your book off the freaking ground and into people's hands and charting and getting visibility. You know, people are like, I want visibility. This is how you do it. Love that. Okay. It's been an hour. I feel like we could talk forever about this. I'm just like, oh my gosh. But Amy, you have been doing so good. So like what's next for you? Like what's next in your book launch? What is the next few weeks, months? What is next?
Yeah, so sleep is next. I think for me, it's just like been a lot of resting and kind of like trying to reset because I
Yeah.
think that like the rest post launch because it's been like 6 months of like finishing the book, like putting final edits on
Yeah.
it, going through multiple rounds of revisions, and then putting it out there. And so for me, what's next is resting and then just continuing to focus on the Substacks that we're building. So for Make Writing Your Job and Pseudoscience, which is our Substack about growing on Substack as a creative, and so those are the 2 things that I'm focusing on now, and then also just continuing to make things for our community.
Oh my gosh, love it. I love that you just if anyone deserves rest, you deserve it. Adela says, I love this coming from a first time self-published author. Um, W.R. Collins says, oh, it is. I want to join Amy's classes, but this is the next best thing. Thank you both. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for supporting Amy's book. Thank you for supporting the mission. Thank you for supporting what we've got going on here. And yeah, to ultimately help more creatives find their voice and find their power, find their money, find their time. Amazing. Amy, thank you so much. Everyone, go purchase a copy of Write for Money and Power. And if you have purchased it, leave your review. We're gonna leave a link
Yes.
to get to leave your review on it in the show notes. Leave your damn review, okay? As a mental therapist, press support. Yes, it is. And what's also important is leaving reviews. Okay, so leave your review, or else the finger guns. You get the finger gun, and we'll be still chatting. There's more to come. Let's see if Amy gets to number 1 in business and money, so this is not over. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Renee. Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.